Yeah, it's mindset cafe, we all got that mindset. Gotta stay focused, never settle for less. It's all in your head, how you think you manifest. So get ready to rise, cause we about to be the best. Gotta switch it up, gotta break the old habits. Get your mind right, turn your dreams into habits. No negative vibes, only positive thoughts.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Mindset Cafe podcast. It's your boy Devan, and we got our special guest. Just kidding. We got our boy Nick with us today. Say hi, Nick.
What's up, guys?
Make it all awkward to right from the start. But today's episode is on breaking limiting beliefs and reprogramming your mind for success, right? So with that being said, ready for the first question, Nick? Just kidding.
Yep.
He was telling me, make sure you let me know what questions you're going to ask right off the bat so you don't throw me under the bus. But no, I never throw you under the bus, For those
Sorry. I just
for those that are just listening and not hearing, he just did an awkward face. But but no, so like right now we're going to start off. Let's just talk about like just limiting beliefs, right? So what, in your opinion, like what are limiting beliefs? Just what is a limiting belief? Does that make sense?
It does, I think. So a limiting belief, if I can put that into, I guess, like a simple example, it's like if you draw a line, right? Like if you're standing somewhere, if you draw a line, and if you kind of just like, if for some reason you like internally you believe like you cannot cross this line, you cannot cross this boundary or whatever, right? This physical line for any reason, like, oh, if your parents told you growing up, if you cross this line, you're gonna fucking burn, or you're gonna lose your foot, So obviously that's instilled in your mind and in your mindset, because that's what somebody told you, and that's pretty much what your belief system is made up of, So if in your mind, it's like you cannot cross that line, you cannot cross that boundary. If I were to put it in an example, so applying it more so into pretty much just into everything else mindset wise, thinking that we have, a certain capacity, whether that's health and fitness, like, a certain weight or even our job, or even a capability, you know what I mean? That's pretty much like a brief explanation on my end.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I was gonna say. It's something that, it's a belief that you have in your head. Like there's no like statistical proof that you can't do something or that you can't achieve something, but your belief doesn't allow you to achieve it, right? So your belief that you can't do something hinders you from actually excelling or progressing in basically that, right? So we'll start off, while everyone's still hopping on to the live, and make sure you guys end up sharing the lives with your friends and let other people know that, we're going live, so we can have, more people engage and, more people reaping the benefits of the live episodes. But with that being said, identifying limiting beliefs, right? How do you know your belief is a limiting belief, or is it something that, you're just telling yourself one time? Does that make sense? Like, is it something that you just told yourself one time, or is it something that you think you can't do something, or you're not good at something, and that's basically now your identity for it, right? Something that you're feeling that's restricting you from achieving.
That's a great question, dude. Honestly, as that was coming out of your mouth, I was like, damn, trying to think of it already, of what I wanted to say. But I think I'm going to like kind of give my personal answer. But aside from that, I think it's a person by person basis of you know what I mean? Like kind of like what each person's limiting belief is. And the reason why I say that is because my answer would be, every time I think that I'm hitting some form of like a capacity or a limitation that I can't, or I'm unable to do something, my first instinct is just, and I'm sure you're exactly the same way, is that why can't I? Or let me try it. Let me try to overcome this, or like surpass this, like this invisible line, or whatever it is that I'm thinking at that moment that I can't do it. Right. So, and whether that be that something, I guess it's because we're speaking more in general terms. Like if it's something where I tried something for the first time and I didn't exactly fulfill or achieve the exact goal or the, you know, kind of like the quantifiable thing that I'm trying to attain, I'm not somebody that's like, okay, I didn't do it. That's it. You know what I mean? And I just won't ever try again. I'll take a step back and kind of like rethink like why didn't I get it? Or is there something that I could do differently?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I do know, like in certain instances, to identify like, okay, that's either the current limit that I'm at with that attempt. Okay. But that doesn't mean that's my last attempt. Okay. To me, it's just more so like, all right, this is the current bar limitation that I'm at with this. What adjustments and what moves do I need to make to get past it?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Does that answer the general question?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was thinking about this too when we were talking about doing this episode, because it is hard to just say, because we are similar in this aspect where I'll just try it.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm going to succeed at everything I try right away. But at the same time, like, we both have that personality where, like, if I want to do something, like, I'm going to figure out a way to do it. And I know you are the same way as well. But one thing that, you know, I've heard of people doing, I personally haven't done this, so I can't speak from experience, but, you know, journaling down like an experience that basically you didn't feel adequate at, or that you felt restricted at, right? Whether it was a bad performance, whether it was something that you didn't achieve, like taking note of it, right? Which kind of brings us into like the next part of it, you know, that I wanted to kind of go into is like, once you identify areas or beliefs that you have within yourself, and it doesn't have to be something that you do all the time, right? I completely forgot I took off the auto direct thing, and I've got to switch the thing. Hey, if anyone wants to intern as a camera person, hit me up. You know, if you see me looking away from the camera right now, it's not because I'm, you know, not trying to look at the camera. Me and Nick are doing multiple things at the same time. So if you want an internship, I'll write up a form for you. You know,
just put up a job application online.
I'll give you some school hours for your camera class. But going into, once you have an established set of limiting beliefs, right, or limiting situations or limiting feelings, right, because not everything you're going to identify right away as a belief, right? Like if I just say, what are your beliefs? You're like, you know, so it's like identifying limiting situations, emotions, whatever, journaling those down, right? And then if you see a trend, it kind of goes into the next topic. It's like, okay, we'll find like the origin of that. Like, why did that happen, right? Or why did you feel that way? Because sometimes it's not just one situation and you have a certain belief or, you know, something about yourself. It's usually stems from a past experience, a past reaction, whatever, you know, someone might have told you, you suck or you can't do this. And now you heard that one time, two times, you know, from different people, and all of a sudden you start to believe it. And now that's a limiting belief, right? Yeah. So by you saying, I can't do this and journaling it down, now all of a sudden you have a bunch of, I can't do this on your journal. You're like, shit, well, why don't I think I can achieve any of these things? Or why can't I achieve this one thing if you only have one thing in your journal? It's like, what makes me believe that? And then you have to think about it and really identify why is that, you know, and it might be because your dad, your mom, your cousin, you know, told you that you're not shit or whatever. And now you can start breaking that down and realizing that you can achieve more, right? Yeah.
It's the information comes from somewhere pretty much,
right.
You know, and like the experience itself, I think like you just said, the information from the experience, gathered from the experience is either from your own, or you're hearing it, you're getting that from someone else's experience. Like you said, like parents, family, friends, whatever the information they're feeding you, that's like, you know, whether it's accurate or not, that's what they're trying to give, like feed you as to be your limiting belief. To put it more kind of like an example of like literally, as a child's example, is like when as a kid, you probably wouldn't know because you don't know anything yet. Like if you heat up like a hot pot on the stove, it's like, you don't believe that the pot is hot yet because you've never touched a hot pot before, right? But then once you do touch that and you burn the fuck out of your hand as a child, then you're going to believe that it's hot. And then moving forward, it's like, you know, that if you touch that, it's literally hot. And that is, I guess, in a sense, like that's your belief. But that's because you experienced it. You went through it.
Right. I mean, I think that it's kind of going at what you're saying. I agree with it. But you're saying that like you don't touch the hot pot again because it's a hot pot, right? But that's not necessarily like a limiting belief, but taking what you're saying and moving it one step further, because like I think I get where you're going with it, right? So you touch, let's say it's a bowl, right? You know, and you touch the bowl because it's hot. Now your limiting belief would be every bowl is hot, so you never grab another bowl, right? Or every pot, everything that's on a stove, the stove could have never been turned on, right? So now you don't ever want to touch that stove again because you don't want to get burnt.
You got a phobia.
Right? Exactly. So, I mean, that's what, I mean, limiting beliefs are almost like phobias in a way, right? You, for example, taking it back to childhood, let's say you had a math grade or math teacher that left a comment on your, you know, your math test, right? And it basically made you feel like you just aren't good at math. So now you go through life thinking that math is hard for you and that you can't do math, so you avoid all math situations, right? So it's not that you're bad
at math, but just saying. I was like, I've always been good at math, but just saying.
Hey man, so was I. But at the same time, you know, it's not everyone's case, right? You know, I didn't want to say, you know, something that we weren't good at, right?
Teachers right, you ain't shit. No.
So I mean, with that, it's like, you have to think of it, that's where your limiting beliefs and stuff stem from. It's, you know, when you have an experience like that, or you have, and by the way, you got to be in control of the live comments, because
that's what I'm keeping an eye on.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, that's where those limiting beliefs or limiting experiences come from. You have an experience, and now you have a belief about that experience, right? So situations necessarily aren't the limiting thing. It's the experience or the belief that you get from that experience, right? And I think you mentioned it earlier about, you know, your experiences and stuff. Sometimes we even get limiting beliefs from someone else's experience, right? And I think that's huge. I didn't even have that on here to talk about, but you know, just you talking about it made me think about it. It's like, you might not have accomplished something, so now I'm either looking up to you or I see you as my equal, so now I don't think I could do it either. So I don't try. Or you say, I'm never going to do that again. Like, that's way too hard. I'm like, well, shit, I'm not going to do that. Like, why would I do that? If you can't do it, I can't do it. Right. But that's not the case, because everyone's different. Right. You may not have been able to achieve it because of something within, you know, your performance or your effort or leading up to it for you trying that, you know, would be different for us. Right. So your experiences can be, your limiting beliefs can be from other people's experiences also. And you need to basically find that origin. Like, why do you feel that way? Is it because someone said something to you? Is it because you saw something? Is it because someone else's experience? And that will allow you to start breaking it down, right?
All right. No, I agree. And I think that's a you know, kind of like not the best thing to kind of develop like as a habit, you know what I mean? Like, kind of, because then it goes into comparison a little bit and kind of taking other people's instances and like limiting yourself, pretty much limiting your belief of like what you can and can't achieve, when it's like, you know, kind of like that mental strength to pull yourself back and like kind of, you know, like tell yourself like, just because this person wasn't able to do this, that doesn't mean I can't do it. You know what I mean? Or, you know, it could be regarding anything, because we are, you know, our field is in a health and fitness setting, and where we deal with a lot of that stuff. And we do tend to see it a lot where, you know, a person will compare themselves to other people, and it's like, now they can't, just because they see that somebody has been putting the time, the consistency, etc. They limit themselves thinking, oh, I can't look as good as them, or I can't, you know, I can't lift as heavy as, or heavier than them, or as heavy as them, just because they're kind of like, you know, comparing themselves or putting that their own limit on themselves based off of someone else. Right. You know what I mean? So just kind of adding to what you said, that's kind of like the dangerous part of it. Like, remember developing that mental, I guess, that mental strength, and which comes out of habit, I think, you know what I mean? And habit and repetition off of like how you train your mind to think, you know, because I'm sure not everybody's like immediately thinking, oh yeah, no, it's okay, like I can fucking do anything, you know? But just like anything else, I think just practicing, like telling yourself that whatever you are trying to do, whatever you're trying to attain, is what you're trying to do. So stop trying to compare your capabilities to someone else.
No, definitely. So, I mean, going into that, you kind of started touching on it. So I want to, kind of jump into that, but challenging like the validity of those limiting beliefs, right? So it's one of those things where what proof, when you write it down and you have your list, right? So it's almost like these are like steps, right? So like you write it down, then you find out why it felt like that. But then now you have to challenge, like, why is that a valid belief, right? Is it a valid belief? Because most of the time it's not a valid belief, right? You can't judge something or create a belief around something off of one experience, right? Or even two. Like sometimes you got to try a couple times, right? To really know. And it's like, if you got better than last time, or you went further than last time, or you whatever, had any progress, then that should already be your basically your proof that you can achieve it, right? If you can do better, then that means you can do better next time, and so forth, right? So it's one of those things where, if, let's say, personal experience, right? We talked about this on a few episodes ago. I don't know which one, but when, I was working where we actually met, when I was a personal trainer at, a local gym, not giving any shout outs, you know what I mean? But when I was a personal trainer at a local gym, and, the owner heard that I wanted to basically open my own gym one day, right? So we had a talk, and then he basically told me, I was giving him credit and props. And then he basically told me, you can never do this. He's like, you can never run a gym. And I was like, hey man, I want to open my own gym one day. I don't see how this is a conflict of interest, considering I'm thinking about the future. This is just on paper, right? But he was like, that's conflict of interest, blah, 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 chewed me out, and then basically tried to relocate me to where he knew I wouldn't succeed. And I was just like, dude, fuck this. Like, I quit, which was his loss, because I was bringing in a ton of money for that gym. But at the same time, once he told me that, right, that could have been a separator, right? Because some people would have taken that from someone that's already a successful gym owner, right? And then said that they see what I'm doing and they're like, you can never do this. Someone might be like, damn, maybe I can't.
Yeah.
But for me, like, then you tell the other kind of person, and then I'm like, fucking watch me.
Yeah.
Watch me. And now it's like, we're on track to do bigger things than is even in his mind. And it's not like I'm, hitting him up to show him, like, I can give two shits what he's doing these days, right? But at the same time, like, you got to have that sense that there's no proof behind the fact that I couldn't do it, right? It was just him speaking out of jealousy. I don't even know, right? Because it was like, I work for him. But it's one of those things where, like, that's where those limiting beliefs can come from. So you need to find, why is it a valid point, or why isn't it a valid point, so that you can actually start to break down that limiting belief, right?
Yeah.
Like, how would you give, like, your point to, like, challenge, like, limiting beliefs?
So, I mean, it sounds kind of cliche, like my thought process on that. It's like, oh, like, never give up, try and try again. But it's like, honestly, if you think about it, that's the fundamentals. Like, I think, like, with a lot of things, like, we tend to overcomplicate, like, the thought process, even, the thought process behind things, when sometimes, like, we just have to put the simple actions, the fundamentals behind it. Meaning, if you, kind of what the basis of what we talked about, if you try a certain thing one time, that's your current limiting belief. But do you stop there? Is the big question. It's like, no, like, you gotta want whatever you're trying to do bad enough. It's like, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? Because then if you want it bad enough, you're gonna try again. Even if you fail and you're still at that current limiting belief, you're gonna, like you said, you're gonna write it down. You're gonna take a step back. You're gonna reassess. Because then, if you give up and you just kind of say, okay, that's my bar, or even if you take that information from someone else, like, oh, like, they're up here or they're doing this, and it's like, if they say that I can't do it, or giving me, like, some form of, like, insight why I can't do anything, and then we kind of, something stops us there, which, fuck them for, like, putting that kind of negativity on you. But at the same time, it's like, it's up to you, because no one's gonna save you, bro.
Yeah.
you have to save your own fucking self. If whatever's on the other side of that current line, that limiting belief, if you want it bad enough, you're gonna take a step back. You're gonna go back to what you wrote down, and, like, reassess yourself. Like, what can I do to get around this, or to get over this, or to accomplish what I'm trying to get to?
Right.
But the point of it is, fucking Rocky said it, like, it doesn't matter how hard you get punched. It's like, it matters how, you know, that you get back up and you, I know I'm butchering the fuck out of that, but it's like, but you got to keep moving forward. You got to try again. Because then the moment you stop breaking that limiting belief that you have, that's literally your limit.
Right.
But no one created that limit except you.
Right.
Push the limits, just try.
No, and I mean, that's going into exactly that. It's like the hustle, like the grind, it doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't care what you have going on. It doesn't care that, you know, you're sore, you're tired, whatever. Like, let's take this into a fitness aspect, you know, just for the purpose of this. It's like, life doesn't care. Your results don't care that you don't feel like it today, that you had a long day at work, that you have a project due, right? None of that matters to your results, right? Because the results are the results. Like, you have to put in the work to see the results, right? And so just because you didn't succeed one time at losing weight or at gaining muscle or getting the physique you want doesn't mean that you can't get it next time, right? If you've never ran a day in your life, doesn't mean you can't run a marathon. You might not do your best if you ran it right now, but you can run, walk, you can fucking crawl, like you can get there, right? Or let's say almost all the way there. And then next time you try again, maybe you get a little further, maybe you get to the marathon, right? But like, that's why they call them like mile markers, right? Milestones, because at the end of the day, you just have to progress a little bit. You don't have to achieve every goal right out the gate, because that's life. You don't achieve everything right out the gate. And if you did, then it's one of those things where the value behind it and the reward behind it and the self-esteem that gets built with every single success wouldn't be there. Because if it was that easy, everyone would be doing it. Right. Then there wouldn't be a value behind it, right? Becoming a millionaire, it's valuable and it's a goal for people because it's hard to get there, right? Becoming a billionaire, you know, millionaires that want to get to billionaires, it's still hard to get there, right? It's at the end of the day, it's a value to get there because of the work that's been put in. Everyone knows how hard you worked that's in trying to do that to get to that level, right? You want a six pack. It's like everyone or let's say from an overweight, you want to get a six pack. If someone was overweight and got a six pack, like they know how hard it is. People trying to get that six pack know how hard it is. So the value of that six pack is going to mean a lot more to you. If you were able to snap your fingers and just change it, yeah, that'd be cool. You'd probably be happy for a day, but then nothing else changes. You wouldn't build that self-confidence. You wouldn't build that self-esteem.
You didn't earn it.
Right. So things that you earn are more valuable than things that are just given to you.
Right.
Right. And like you said, you sometimes, and Dana White just said in the little clip that we saw, right? You got to dig your heels in and you got to go to fucking work, right? Because at the end of the day, life's not going to hand it to you, right? No one's just going to give you a golden spoon and be like, here's your goals, here's your results, here you go. It's, you know, life doesn't fucking work that way.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think, you know, to add to what that fucking gold piece you just spat out right now is, well, I think it's nature, but when we get hit with a failure or, you know, not that immediate success with, you know, trying to overcome the limiting beliefs or whatever it is, it's like our first tendency is like, fuck, you know, I'll just stop or I'll give up. But the thing is, like, we have to, again, train ourselves with practice that failing over and over and over and fucking over again is part of it.
Yep.
If you don't fail, then that wasn't, one, it's not worth it, but two, it's like, then you didn't fucking push hard enough, or that limiting belief is not actually something that's worth attaining.
Yeah.
You know, it's the point of, Kobe had that like one saying, it's like, it's not the destination that's the dream. It's like the journey to get there is part of the dream. And part of that journey of everything that we're trying to, you know, go for in every aspect of our life, it's being able to fail, but learning from those failures is what the lessons that we pick up is how we break the limiting beliefs, how we get over the limiting beliefs at that mile marker. Because then when you break that limiting belief, guess what happens next? You have a new one, another limiting belief. And then what happens when you work towards that? You fail again and you fail 50 other fucking times. And then you got to keep going. You got to find a solution. And it's a never ending process. But that's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
Because I think too, like when, you know, like it just kind of hit deep with what you said, because like I saw like a speech from Denzel like a long time ago that said, you know, so he was saying something about
Was it the college one?
yeah, like I think he was on a podium and then he was saying that like when you're on your deathbed and like all those ghosts come to haunt you and stuff, it's like, you know, like you're the only one
ghosts of regret.
The ghosts of regret. It's like you're the only one that has to face them. Where it's like, did you succumb to like giving up when you faced you know, that certain limiting stuff in whatever you're doing? It's like, did you leave everything? You know what I mean? Are you satisfied that you pushed it and overcame every single thing that you could until your very last time? Or did you just hit that road bump and say, I'm done?
Yeah. Or did you even not even hit a road bump and not even try because of a limiting belief, right? It's if you have two people and one person values the journey and values being in it and just progressing, they'll go a lot further than the person that just values the destination, right? If you're focused on just the destination and not focused on the journey, like that's the kind of difference that we're talking about, right? Because going back to when life throws a punch, what you said, you know, rewinding it a little bit, when life throws, let's say a hook and you've never been hit with a hook punch, right? And for those who don't need it, it's just bah, you know. But if you've never been hit with a hook punch and you know it knocks you down for the first time, it's like, damn, am I not going to get back in the ring ever again? Mm-hmm. So the next time you get thrown a hook, then you just bob and weave. You might get hit with a cross afterwards or some other punch afterwards. Okay, but now I know for the next time, right? So like you're saying, it's like if you never try, then you don't know if you can do it or not. So those limiting beliefs are going to stop you from ever even seeing it. And then when you are on your deathbed, you will have all those ghosts of regret, right? So you got to take risks. The risks are where rewards happen, right? And it's not saying just take, you know, unthought out risk, right? You know, I'm not saying just go out and gamble, but it's one of those things where like you have to take the risk of not achieving your goal. You have to take the risk of other people seeing you fail at something, right? Most business owners, actually, I was because we were doing phone interviews for the gym, and I was on a phone interview with someone, and they were telling me how they wanted to open up their own gym and stuff. And we were talking about it, and he was giving me stats about how many entrepreneurs fail, right? And then he said, like, you know, 95% of entrepreneurs fail. And, you know, the other stat was how many entrepreneurs were successful after the age of 40. And it was another, like, you know, crazier number. And then I told him, I was like, you have to think of like that stat. It's like, okay, how many entrepreneurs failed? Yes, it might be high, but does that mean they didn't try again? Mm-hmm. Right? They failed maybe at one thing, and then they tried again, because the people that were successful at 40 didn't just try one time. They're part of that first 95%, right? So at the end of the day, though, you don't know if you're going to succeed in business, in fitness, in, you know, a relationship, whatever. Sometimes you just got to fucking jump and find out. And you're not finding out to see if you'll succeed one time. You're jumping to find out what the journey is, mm-hmm. right? So you don't know if you're going to jump into the ocean. You don't know what's in the ocean until you get into the fucking ocean, right? I know that there's all these things. There's sharks, there's fish, and but I don't know what's in my ocean right in front of me, right, until I jump in. You know, sometimes you might fucking fall on a rock real quick. Real quick, a story, like, you know, like, speaking of that, honestly, I wish I had the clip so I can edit it into this. I'm gonna have to see if one of my friends has it, because I think he does. But we were hiking. This was like probably like almost like 10 years ago. But we were hiking up in the mountains in Ojai, and there's these natural rock water pools, right? So it's where like the snow runs off, and then basically they create these natural rock water pools that you can jump into, and, you know, there's a rock water slide and stuff on one of them. And I've been up there before, and I don't know the water levels, right? Like it looks deep, and apparently the way it was deep enough that you couldn't see the rock coming out. And we were standing, me and one of my friends were standing on the lower rock, and we're like, dude, like, I don't want to jump into the higher part. Like, we're just gonna go in right here. And so he starts calling us names, whatever. He goes up. He didn't have a limiting belief that he couldn't jump in, but the wall of the rock said, nah, bitch. And literally, so he jumped off, and he landed in like maybe ankle, maybe knee deep water. Man. And you just see, da. But the funniest part about it was wasn't the fact that me and my friend had to carry him out or try to carry him out and he wouldn't do it. And it got dark in the valley of we're in the valley. And so there's 2 mountains, the sun goes down and it gets fucking dark. And we had to walk 5 miles back with our iPhone flashlights, like to figure out how to it took forever. But another person remixed the video and it had the milkshake. So it was like, bro, that shit was so funny.
Bro,
but,
we pulled up, never mind. I was like, the gym cameras, we could probably make videos.
Dude, seriously. But that shit was so funny. But
I thought it was something that happened to you. I was like, damn, I got to see that.
It happened to me. I'd watched him not having a limiting belief. And I didn't think I had a limiting belief. I just didn't feel like doing it. And, sometimes, other things happen, right?
You got to risk it to get the biscuit.
Yeah,
sometimes
he risked it and didn't succeed.
You get smacked in the fucking mouth.
So.
G said, geez, put up a comment. Thanks, G. Always looking out.
Yeah.
You guys need to put in your inputs and your experiences, with us too. Tell us what your limiting beliefs are.
Yeah, I want to see in the comments, like, give me a time that you had give me a limiting belief that you have.
Tell me what scares you.
Yeah, no, yeah. Tell me what scares you. I don't care if you're scared of spiders. Shit like that. Nick's scared of pretty much any bug.
I ain't scared of nothing. No, it's like,
just kidding. No, but we want to hear, what are your limiting beliefs? Like, let's talk about some people's limiting beliefs, right?
Yeah. So like, just to give G, because she said it has to scare you a little. That's a good thing, which I fucking agree with. Like, if I think your goals, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it has to be so big that you're afraid, you know what I mean? Like, because if you're not, I agree with that you're not shooting big enough, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're staying, again, within that comfort zone. You're staying behind that limiting belief line. I don't know why when we talk about like limiting belief, like I just, in my head, like I just see like this line that people just can't, like they feel like they can't get over.
I mean, going into the line, I think when you said it earlier, I was going to say it and I forgot. But like, picture like your beliefs or, the other people in your life that are creating these limiting beliefs for you that you've created within yourself. Like, they've drawn that line in the sand, right? Saying you can't get over this line. Or like, have you ever seen one of those movies where they draw the line in the sand, be like, cross this line, see what happens? Like, you got to be that person, be like, yeah, jump that line, be like, what's good, and then you find out. You either get punched in the face right away or you don't, and you knock it out of the park, right? So at the same time, like, that line in the sand is, only drawn in your own mind, right? And it should scare you a little bit, right? When we originally were training back in the day, like when I was training you for your bodybuilding competition, like, I already had the vision of where we were going with this. I didn't know we were going to go with it yet, but then when I told you, I knew, like, I didn't want to tell you straight out the gate everything, because it would have been like, man, like, I don't know. But at the same time, like, I knew once you warmed up the idea, then I was like, all right, like, you're on board, like, and you basically agreed to dive in, quit your career and jump in with me.
To dive in.
So then, like, it was one of those things where we had other people, and I know both of us did, from family to friends to just peers, just to, random people. They would either tell you that, oh yeah, that's awesome, but you could tell the way they said it was like, you can't do that. Mm-hmm. Like, why are you shooting that big? Mm-hmm. Right? And then you have other people that told us that we couldn't do it, that, why don't you just open up a couple of gyms, or why don't you just stick to your gym? Like, that's already awesome. It's like, nah, like, that's not what our goal is. Right. And that's okay, because the vision was put into our heads, right? Where we're going with this. And like, we have things that people don't even know that we're going to be launching out in the future. But again, our vision is huge and it scares both of us, and we're in the fucking thick of it. Right. And sometimes
we're in the thick of it.
Like, sometimes, like, it's one of those things where we talk and it's like, damn, this is crazy. Like, are we doing the right thing? Are we going? And it's like, well, yeah. Like, what's telling us that we're not? There's nothing that's telling us that we're not. And like, we're growing, like, and we haven't been open 3 years. Next month we'll be open 3 years. Like, we're already growing so fast within our location, with franchising, with everything. It's like, we're on track to do everything, right? So if we listen to those limiting beliefs and just focused on this, it's like, we would stunt ourselves, right? So there was no proof that didn't say we couldn't, keep going, right? So don't allow others to basically put that limiting belief on you, because it scares them, or they don't think it's realistic or logical, because they can't even fathom it in their own brain. But that's why you're here in the Mindset Cafe, because your brain is fucking huge,
Jess actually dropped a comment as well. She said, teaching will take Teaching will take at minimum 5 years to get it right if you teach the same grade consecutively. You're battling admin, parents, coworkers who will doubt you. So like, I think you're talking about like the external factor.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I definitely, well, I mean, I can only imagine, at least like, especially in that field of work, like, you know, that it takes like minimum 5 years to get it, like the teaching. And I think that's it's like kind of like an ever growing like process, like that learning thing. You know what I mean? And being able to learn and then teach, you know what I mean? And like cultivate people.
Right.
Although that's kind of similar to.
No, but I mean, I get what you're saying. Like there is that experience that is developed. And let's say you're a teacher and your first year is rocky, right? And it's like not the same rocky boat that you're talking about. You know, I'm talking about it's rough, right? You know, you're getting comments, you're getting negative feedback, you're getting things that you should be doing that you're not doing, and all those things. And it's like, okay, well, you learned the lesson. Second year's gonna be a little better. Then all of a sudden, you get, you know, comments, you get, you know, thing from parents and, you know, principal or whatever. It's like, again, you could stop there or think that you can't get better. This isn't the career for you. Or you just take those comments, don't limit yourself, and just improve next year. And then after, you know, if she's saying 5 years, it's like now all of a sudden you're a teacher that everyone is like, she is the teacher to be, or he is the teacher to be, right? And that goes for both of us. Like, even though we worked out like all of our lives and we were, you know, athletic and everything like that, like your first year, your first month as a personal trainer wasn't your best month. Mine either, right? There was still a lot to learn, continuous learning. And even now, like we still get better as trainers, as business owners, day in and day out, right? We're not the same business owners that we were 3 years ago. We're not the same business owners that we were a year ago, right? So it's one of those things where time does play a factor in some journeys, right? Like you can't get a six pack from being 500 pounds in a week, in a month, right? It fucking takes time.
Yeah.
Right. So
that's a limiting belief. You better fucking believe.
But if let's say at 500 pounds, you don't think you can never get a six pack, it's like, that's your limiting belief. You think you're too far gone, or you think you're too far back that you can't go that far. It's like, you can, but I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Right. And that's the thing, is like, it's not an easy journey in most cases. And that's okay, because that's why it's valuable, right? If you don't think you can get a six pack from, you know, 500 pounds, ask our boy Nate, right?
I was just about to say that. Like, shout out to Nate, you know? And it's like, you're gonna fail certain days, you know? You're gonna, you know, on your journey there, it's like, you know, you're not gonna execute every fucking, you know, week, every day, every meal prep perfectly. You're gonna do a check-in, a weigh-in, you know, with whoever your coach is or whatever the hell, you know, and then you're gonna fuck it up sometimes. That doesn't mean the end of the road you're not gonna have the abs, you know what I mean? And just a side note, you know, when you do break that limiting belief, you'll understand that it's like the things that you learned to get that six pack, you need it to keep the six pack. Because when you have the six pack, now you're gonna go back to 500 pounds. But and to just kind of add to what you were saying, like, you know, to Jess's thing about being a teacher, it's like, no matter what, like people, you know, like the negative comments, like you're battling with, like, you know, parents, coworkers, it's like, it doesn't matter what they say, because if you ask anybody, they in their brain have like an ideal teacher, right? And that person is made up of like whatever they, you know, they liked something specific about that, or if it's an overall great teacher. But the thing is, that teacher that they admire so much is a perfect, you know, pedestal to them. They didn't start out like that. Just to exactly what you were saying. They had their first month, first year, first 5 years of teaching that weren't the best, but they kept fucking going. They kept learning. They kept excelling, which now in turn to other people, they're like the best fucking teacher.
And so that's like going into that, like exactly like when you see someone, let's say today or tomorrow, you're only seeing the tip of the iceberg of who they became, right? You're only seeing them right now. You're only seeing that little piece of the journey that has allowed them to get to that point. Right. So you're at a different part of your iceberg. You're an ice cube right now.
Oh my God.
You're an ice cube right now. But at the same time, like, you know, ice will form. More ice forms over years. I mean, that's the way you think about it. Right. It's like, if you take it that way, it's like, you can't build a snowman with a snowflake. Damn, I like that one. I just fucking thought of that right now. I was trying to think of a different one. You know, it's like, you can't build a sandcastle with a fucking piece of sand. Damn, we can keep going. But all these things are built, you know, over time or with more. And so more can come from experience, right? So if you think about one experience is, one piece of sand or one snowflake, right? You start adding those experiences, those years, and it starts to develop into this beautiful thing that everyone sees and wants to be like. But at the same time, you have to remember that that person is that person and you are you. So don't try to be them, because if you try to be them, you'll never be yourself and you'll never be different. And then all of a sudden you're always going to be subpar to them. Right. So when you're idolizing someone, remember, like, you can use them as a role model, but they're not different than you. Right. And that's the thing that people don't realize is like Instagram influencers, famous, whatever, famous people, millionaires, like they're not different than you. There's nothing that says you can't do what they do, but don't try to be them. Right. Steve Jobs isn't, fucking Elon. Right. It's like those, like, they're different people. They made their own way. They got to the same point, but they would never try to be each other. Right. So at the same time, like, you can get to that stage that they're at, but you have to go use what they're doing and learn from what they're doing, but make it your own. Right. So going into that,
there's actually, let me read these comments, because
hit out those comments.
They're actually firing off right now.
So I'm talking about keep it up.
I'm about to just start clapping right now. After what Jess input, appreciate it, Jess. Just a side note, Geraldine was like, okay, James, I think that was to you. Patty was like, leap of faith. Of course, always. You gotta just jump. G said, being a single mom and wanting to change careers and people not believing you can do it, it was scary as fuck, but still went to school and had my kids at my graduation and proud to show them that I did it.
That's awesome.
No, that really is awesome. Like, that's more than commendable, coming from like something that, like, obviously Devan and I wouldn't be able to come from, because that's what makes your situation special. And that's what that triumph and breaking through that limiting belief that much more meaningful. Because like, you fucking did that shit. Only you could do that shit. You know what I mean? In your own way too.
And I want to add to that point that, other people may have said that, G couldn't do that. Right. And that could have stopped her from doing it. But she basically didn't allow that to become a limiting belief. Right. But not only did she not allow that to become a limiting belief, she also created a barrier for that never to be a limiting belief for her kids. Right. So now your kids saw you do that, especially if they saw or they heard other people telling you can't do that and you still did it anyways. Now, not only did you succeed, but you just gave a crazy tool to your kids.
Yeah, you just paved the way. G is a G. Just saying. And then Patty said, you can't lose 38 pounds in a month right now.
Or do 32,000 push-ups in a month.
Keep your arms straight. G, she said, and then she said again,
love you, Patty.
Look at me now, ultrasound tech and a trainer. Go off, queen. Oh, Kim said, it's about reframing the way we think. Rather than thinking of struggle/failures as a negative thing, think of it as a lesson and a try harder.
Exactly.
I want to
touch on that part real quick, because I mean, the section that we have up is, basically replacing limiting beliefs and empowering with empowering beliefs, right? With affirmations or positive self-talk. And it's one of those things where, like, I don't mean just go in the mirror and be like, I can do it. I'm the best. You're
a badass mother.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Cool Runnings? If you haven't, go watch it. But that's a movie from Disney. But exactly what Kim is saying, right? You have to reframe that negative self-talk or that talk that, is holding you back with positive or empowering ones, right? Saying, I'm not good enough, or I can't do this, or I can't run a business. And then you have your reasons why you believe that. You have to be able to say, I am capable, right? Or I can do this, right? Whether you choose to or not, like, you can. It's all about the choice to do it or not to do it, right? So you can't, I don't want to say that negative or a double negative. You can do anything that you put your mind to, right? If you want to go back to school right now and get your doctorate, you can do it at any year, right? You can change careers like G just proved at any year, right? There's people that, that are calling us for the franchise have no business. Like, they've never had any business. They've never had any experience in the gym industry, but yet they want to open up their own gym, right? Why? Because they want to be involved in the community. They love the passion. They like fitness, or they just see the energy that comes behind it. And someone might tell them, like, you can't open a gym because you've never even worked in a gym. It's like, yeah, you can. One, because we got you. So if you want to, franchise the tribe, let us know. But no, seriously, it's like, you can do anything that you put your mind to, right? So right there, the key part is anything that you put your mind to, you can do. A limiting belief is not allowing you to put your mind to it, right?
No, I agree, and 100%. And like I like that Kim touched on that, because, and what you just pretty much explained is most of it, actually, if not all the time, that line of limiting belief is something that we see, or that we think we see, visually in our imagination. But the thing is, like, it's all in here. Like you just said, like, I know it sounds kind of saying anything you can do, like,
I can do better.
I believe that we will win. But it's like, honestly,
actually, right there, like right what you just said. I mean, I love that, like, Pitbull song too.
I believe.
But it's like that's the thing, is like, I believe that we can win, right? It's like, that's the kind of thing that you need to have. It's not saying I'm going to win. Mm-hmm. It's not saying I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. It's, I believe I can do this, right? I know I can do this, right? I believe in myself, right? That's where it all comes from, is, again, belief, right? So is it limiting belief or empowering belief? And if you're having a limiting belief, why are you having that? Mm-hmm. You can always reshift it. If you've never done public speaking and you get scared, it's like, yeah, most people do. But if you never step on a stage, or you never, speak in front of people because you don't think you can do it, well, that's your belief. You got to believe that you can do it, and just work and take those steps towards doing it. Right.
That's the biggest, like, foundation of it as well. Like, kind of believing it, and just kind of I guess, like, to solidify and touch back of what we had mentioned earlier, is like, believing it is like the main thing. Mm-hmm. But even after you believe it, you got to put your action and your body and everything into it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because, like, you can believe that you're gonna finally, be on the health and lifestyle that you really want. You know what I mean? Like, you can believe that shit all you want, but if you don't put it into action, if you don't go through the days where you don't want to fucking get up early to either prep your food, go to the gym, or go to work and go to the gym, or prep your shit, or eat right, or you want to give it, for the weekend, fuck around and just have drinks and, like, eat whatever you want. If you don't do all of that, you can believe all you want, is not going to happen. Because the thing is, the belief has to be backed by your action. Yeah. And believe it or not, the crazy thing is, when your action aligns with your belief is fucking, it's manifested. Like, your belief becomes bigger. Now you just overcame that limiting factor. Now you're going to create a new one. Right. You're going to run into a different one. Right. But it's because it all comes together.
Right. And that's why, Kim also mentioned that, learning from failures, and it's like 100%, right? You learn from your failures, but a failure isn't even a failure unless you give up, right? You didn't fail at something. You just learned a way not to do it.
You just stopped trying.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Thomas Edison took 10,000 times to, make the light bulb. Right. And then on 10,001 or whatever is, like, the little saying, but it's like, his whole saying was that he learned 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb. Right. So it's like, anytime he could have gave up, but he knew there was a way, or he believed that he could find a way. Right. So it's that belief again. Right. So it's one of those things where, again, if you switch the perspective of failure and just change that word for lesson, right? I didn't fail at achieving this. I just learned a lesson on how not to achieve it, right? And that's the biggest part.
Extract the lesson.
Exactly. Extract the lesson from everything. Every conversation that you have in life, there's a lesson, right? But something else that you mentioned, visualizing, everything comes from your mind, right? Before we have this, right, it was just a thought in my brain. Then that became a thought in both of our brains. That thought got written down on paper, and then so forth, into where we're at today. But at the same time, like, one thing that you should start doing is visualize yourself achieving what you want to achieve, right? And the more times you can do that, close your eyes, meditate, whatever you need to do. But if you can paint that picture of that, or actually you said manifesting, right? So manifesting, just by saying, I want to become a millionaire, I want to be a successful entrepreneur, just by saying that a bunch of times doesn't do shit. Because like you said, it's the actions that are put behind it, right? And if you're not putting in any actions, so your action is no action, well then, your actions are just fucking around, and you fucked around and found out that, that you're not going to be successful, right? But at the same time, like, you have to be able to visualize. So like, close your eyes and paint that picture. No, but paint that picture, right? And it may be hard the first time, right? And I think Ed Milet was talking about this. If you close your eyes, right, I want you to picture you actually achieving your goal, right? Let's say Kobe used to do this too, right? There's been countless people that have talked about this. He would, practice his free throws a bunch of times, for hours before the games, right? For practice, all that kind of stuff. But then when he wasn't actually shooting the free throws, he would actually sit there and with it, close his eyes and just picture himself shooting and making the free throw, shooting and making the free throw. And what you're doing, it's like, yeah, that doesn't work unless you actually try and put some action behind it. But what you're doing is you're telling your subconscious that you can do it. And you're building up, again, hashtag bricklayer, you're building up those bricks of basic confidence within yourself, or belief within yourself that you can achieve that, right? Mm-hmm. So it's those visualization techniques do happen and they do work. But again, it's in coupling with other things like action, right? So manifesting only works when you have basically the diehard motivation and dedication to achieving that goal, right? That's what manifesting is, right? When you are, I'm going to take another quote from Conor McGregor, right? He was saying, manifesting is real. When you can manifest something, it becomes your reality. But what he said also was, when you are manifesting and you're visualizing something in your brain, right? And you can see the perfect picture of it. And then you have a dire drive to actually achieve that. And you almost become a little bit crazy in the process of wanting to do it. Like, your friends don't matter, your circle doesn't matter, what other people are saying, you can't even hear it because you're so involved in the vision, right? And I'm not saying you got to tune everyone out, but that's the kind of dedication that you have to realize, that like, you can do anything you want. Some things take a little bit harder work or a little bit more time to get to, right? But at the same time, you can still achieve it if you can both visualize it, believe that you can get it, and then also take daily actions to achieve that, right?
That's a good one. Shout out Conor McGregor. But I think, just a little side note, is when it comes to limiting beliefs and either whether you give up or you're like, don't want to attempt anymore to, break those limiting beliefs, a main driving factor of that is like fear, fear of failure, fear of not attaining it. But we got to ask ourselves, depending, obviously, case by case, whatever it is you're trying to get to or attain, it's like, what you should have fear of, what you should be afraid of is, what if you don't break that barrier? What if you don't achieve this thing? What is that going to mean?
Yeah.
But if it doesn't mean, what is it? If it doesn't mean enough, then that's like, okay, you let that fear kind of like hinder you from, you're like a little puppy with your tail between your fucking between your legs.
But no, like you said, like, what if you don't succeed the first time, right? What if it doesn't go as planned? Because I promise you, it probably isn't, right? What if you don't, land the job that you want? What if you don't land the girl that you want? What if? But what if you do try and it's better than you could ever imagine? What if?
Well, damn.
And the only thing that separates what ifs is your action, right? And your action comes from you telling yourself you can or can't do something, right? So what if? It's like, fuck your what if. Let's see, right? So at the end of the day, ifs are only in your head.
Imaginary friends.
Yeah. Hey, honestly, I never heard that before, but I like that. It's true. It's like your imaginary friend, your ifs, right? Your brain is the only thing that's holding you back from having the life that you want. Because at the end of the day, your reality is your perception. Reality, there is no reality, right? If you think about it, right? Your reality, your experience of an event, of a situation, of, anything, is your experience of it. Your experience is your reality of that experience. I could have had a different experience, and that's my reality of that experience, right? So reality is just the perception of the person or the individual, right? That's why they say there's always three sides to a story. There's person one, there's person two, and then there's the truth. And the truth is never, known unless there's, a blend between the two or video footage, right? So what we're trying to say, I know we're getting close to the end here because Instagram kicks us off at an hour, that it's going to take constant learning, right? Constant quote unquote failures, which are lessons, right? You learn from lessons, right? That's why when you go into school, there's a lesson plan, right? So the more lessons you learn, AKA more failures you have, the more intelligent you're going to be about achieving your result. And like you mentioned earlier about the fitness, it's like, just because you have a six-pack, let's say if someone just gave it to you, you don't know the habits, the skills, the actions, the requirements to maintain that six-pack, right? So it's the lessons learned that allow you to maintain and continue to progress forward, right? So it's one of those things where you have to realize that those lessons are allow you to achieve anything in life. Don't be scared of failure, and realize that you learn, like Jess was saying, you learn certain skills over time, right? And with that, it's understanding that you have to have a constant patience, and knowing that patience doesn't just mean sitting on your ass and not doing anything about it. You're having an active patience where you're trying to progress, but you're being patient that you're not there yet. But guess what? You're not there yet. Grab a tissue, wipe your fucking tears, because you're not done yet. Damn. Get there.
I've always just seriously.
Put your hard hat on, punch your time card in, and go to fucking work.
We're just quoting shit. No, that's big facts. So I mean, just don't give up. I mean, that's just mine. Don't give up. Like, honestly, just keep fucking swinging, because that's how we all do.
Just keep swimming, as Dory would say from Finding Nemo.
Patty said, "Nothing is easy. If it were easy, everyone would." That's big facts.
What?
She said that nothing is easy. If it were easy, everyone would do it. If it was easy, then the limiting belief wouldn't be there.
Right.
Fuck your limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
You're only holding yourself back.
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all it comes down to.
Yep.
Is one, you have to try. You have to actually take that jump. Two, it's probably not going to go according to plan, right?
It never does.
It never does.
It never does.
If you don't start a business because you don't know all the steps to running the business, you're never going to fucking start. We learned so many lessons opening the gym that we didn't know straight out the gate. You think you know everything. You think you have your blueprint laid out. Well, guess what? Shit happens. You got your plans should be adjustable, and they adjust to the situations that are presented. You cross each bridge as it comes, right? One of my favorite things I like to say is, like, you cross that bridge when you get there. Someone brings a problem. This is probably going to happen here and here. I'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll try to do what I can, but if there's nothing I can do about it right now, we'll fucking figure it out when we get there, and that's all you can do sometimes in life. You take things as they're presented to you. Otherwise, if you're worried, and then now you're in just what if, and what if that, and what if this, is like, again,
that's what you're building the limiting belief for yourself.
And then you never take that next step because you don't know, like, what if there's a fucking pothole in my next step? It's like, well, fucking what if? Take it, So with that being said, if you guys want to go more into, if you have any limiting beliefs within yourself and you want to break it down with us, you can message, either of us. We'd be more than happy to, help break down your limiting beliefs with you guys. And we won't post it or shout it out or anything like that. Like, if you want to have like a more serious talk, like, feel free to mention or, DM either of us. Devan.Gonzalez, Nick, is it dot? Your Instagram?
Yeah.
Nick.Weg. I'll put it in the show notes, but feel free to message us, and we'd be more than happy to go over, your limiting beliefs and, help you overcome them and help you create a strategy around it. But with that being said, guys, make sure you guys share the show, leave a review on the podcast. It does help us, be shown to other people so that other people can start to overcome their limiting beliefs and other things like that as well.
And thanks for engaging, guys. We love the comments and, like, everybody putting their 2 cents in. If always, if you have a question or want to put your input in, throw it in the comments. We don't bite.
But love y'all. See you on the next one.
No negative vibes, only positive thoughts. Cause in the game of life, mindset causes shots. Got my mind on the prize, I can't be distracted. I stay on my grind, no time to